What's up, everybody? It's Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster. Of course, Kevin and I was in the green room talking. So, um, we have an interesting show for you tonight. Uh, we're definitely going to cover the trials that are going on in the world. Crime, of course, is still happening in the city. Just terrible stuff going on. Shame on the people that are committing the crimes. I mean, like we just have to do better. We really do. I mean, enough is enough. Uh, we have I think the last time we spoke, we had a new mayoral elect Eric Adams. Congratulations from the Real Talk Chronicles family. Also, too, we have a new
Did we lose Bill? It's one of those things where I can't tell if my device has gone crazy or if we lost Bill. Just give us a moment. We're having some technical difficulties. Bill will be back in a second. We'll get started. My apologies for that. Clearly, he didn't pay his cable bill. There it is. I finally got into my phone, so now I see Bill is frozen. It's not just me. Usually it's my 2G that doesn't work well. So I said, there it is. I finally got into my phone, so now I see Bill. Now I got to quiet my personal device because I'm. Once in a while we goof up. It happens. But we all know whose fault it is. Since he's not here, I won't say his name, Bill. But we do want to talk about a lot of things tonight. Kyle Rittenhouse trial. Where is that going? Is it self-defense? Is it murder? I don't know if it's crystal clear. That should stop people getting talking about it. It was Stefan, you sent me some stuff about one of the more famous guys from the DC insurrection was sentenced today. The QAnon shaman was sentenced. 41 months in prison. Do we think that was a fair deal? Do we think he got enough? Too much? I got to see what he's actually sentenced for, but I think it's probably about right. I got a text from Bill. He'll be right back. So, am I going to have to send a car to his house to check on him? Just realized I was going to try to show a video, and I can't even show a video because Bill's got to be the one to share. So we're really stuck in a pause mode, everybody, and I apologize for that.
Hey, Kev. Sorry, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Welcome back. Yeah. We were working with the internet and we told them not to refresh it, and they did that. So I apologize, everybody. So, um, like we were saying, we're going to talk about the trials. Kevin, where are you going now? Oh, there you are. We're talking about the trials. We have so much other stuff to talk about. Also, we found out that we have two state troopers.
Oh, come on, Bill.
Kentucky, yeah, Kentucky, that are part of the Ku Klux Klan. We'll definitely have to talk about
You're going in and out on me again, Bill.
that because then it comes down to a lot of theories on why people of color feel a certain way, and Kevin and I can elaborate that. So, Kev, let's talk about the trials. Let's start with Rittenhouse. Rittenhouse, have you been? Are you up abreast of it, or have you been not really?
I'll be honest with you. I don't follow it that much. I've caught a little bit of news on it. You know, actually, let me look for the video.
Please do.
Of him, and let's go with that. You are freezing up again, Bill. You had frozen up before since you've come back.
Okay.
So just to let you know.
Yeah.
But let me get that video. I mean,
yeah.
I don't. Video. My personal opinion at the moment, I don't. It's not a clear-cut case.
You don't think it's a clear-cut case?
Tougher one. It's not as clear as. So here's the scenario as I understand it. Right, he goes there with others to protect the city. Right, so we have a city. You muted yourself, Bill. We have a. Oh, he's trying to talk to his internet expert, probably on the side. Malika.
No, people will call and yeah. So go ahead. It's not a clear
and you correct me if I'm wrong. And like I said at the beginning, I haven't followed this extremely closely. I have not. So I catch a little bit of news here or there, and news is biased every direction you want. So that's my my out at the beginning of this. But so he went there. Other friends went there. Other people went there. Their claim was, that they're there to protect the city. And we know at that point, Kenosha was having riots for several days, fires, burning. Not a good place. Is it a civilian's job to go and protect property? No. I don't care what side of the fence you are, who's protesting, who's riot. It's not their job. Now, if it's your home, can you protect your home? And that's a different story. But to protect property, no good will ever come out of that. With all that said, I've seen some of the video where people are chasing him, attacking him. That's kind of hard to charge a guy with murder if you're charging after him and he shoots you, right? Like.
So let me ask you a question.
But I want to find a couple. If there's a full length video of it, because there's lots of snippets out there.
Well, if you want to, you can go to YouTube and get things from the trial. They have stuff on YouTube about the trial, if you want to. Let me just ask you a question. Young boy, because he was a boy, goes someplace that he shouldn't have went. As a parent, you and I would have. I'm speaking for you, but correct me if I'm wrong.
My kid is not going with an AK-47 and AR-15 to an event to go protest or protect protesters or fight against protesters or be a part of any protest.
Thank you. So with that being said,
but my understanding is he didn't leave with the gun from his house. That's given to him there in the area.
Yeah, from another person that should be brought up on charges.
Yes.
Right.
You give a kid a gun.
I'd bring his mother up on charges of negligence or something, if I could.
Well, I'm with you on that, and we've talked about this before in life. Like the whoever gives the juvenile a gun is who we should be going after, or at minimum part of who we should be going after. But I don't. There are some reports that says the mother knew or she gave it to him, but I'm getting others that she didn't know. So I don't. Did she? But she drove him there.
Yes, she did. She did.
Yeah, that's just a moron.
Yeah. You know what's so funny? I have a problem with a lot of theories, and let me just say this. And I'm gonna really put the elephant in the room, like Zimmerman, like the Ahmaud Arbery trial, like this case. I am really tired, and I'm just gonna say this for the white people that are doing this, to go out and initiate something and then claim victim when situations don't go the way they think it's supposed to go. Right? This young little boy goes out there in a grown man's world with a grown man's rifle. You know what I'm saying, Kev? A grown man's rifle. And you out there, you're confronting protesters. Right? You're confronting them. Now you get in a situation that you can't handle. So now I'm a little boy. I'm scared they were going to beat my ass. Listen, I think he's going to get off. It's a shame that he's going to get off, because you know what? You don't cry wolf and then get the chance to say, "Oh, now I'm the sheep." You know what I'm saying? And that's my point. And I think that's a lot of people's point is you went there. Yeah, you talked about you was a medic, but you had no medical equipment. You're going to a place and you're talking, and you got an AR. You got one of the most deadliest machines on earth, known to man, a civilian can own. And you're going there, and this is your mindset. And now you're mad. You're pointing your gun at people. I mean, I've been following it extensively, and you know what's so funny? I do think he's going to get off, because this becomes now about, you know, the amendment rights to carry and not carry. But yo, he was out of pocket, and you know what else? You know what else can we say? He's a little punk, yo. And then now all of a sudden, yo, did you see the tears? And yo, I was shame on him. You know what I'm saying? And now he's in college to be a nurse. Listen, you couldn't touch me if I wanted you to. You know what I'm saying?
He's gonna have a very hard time in life getting a job, dude. Like I don't see that happening, right? But yeah, that's a whole nother thing. Yeah, look, like I said, I disagree with him being there. If his mother knew what he was going to be up to, yes, there's an issue there. If it's an adult that gave him that gun, that's who should be charged. You know, seeing him cry, that can I honestly believe he means that? Yeah, I can.
Why do you think he means that?
But there's no regrets later on, and you know, getting in over your head. I believe that too. Seeing you know, juveniles in New York City get arrested for murder, and seeing them later on crying, you know. I got no.
Think they're crying because now their ass is going to go to jail, or I mean, do you really think a lot of things are regret, or you think?
I think a lot of things are. It's combination, right? This is the problem with kids and why we treat them differently, why we charge them differently, why we don't send, you know, 15-year-olds to state prison, right? Their brains are different. They take longer to mature. They take longer to realize, you know, their actions have consequences, right? We were all braver and stupider when we were younger, Bill. We've joked around that about here, right? Being a young cop, I had no fear of anything. Climbed anywhere, ran into buildings.
Right.
Gunshots are coming from the building, running in the building, face first, right? Like no pause, no anything. We're going in.
Yeah.
Right. Pile on the monkey, didn't care. Right. We're going after it. just months ago, I was on my, at the time, girlfriend's roof, fixing her roof and cutting tree off of it. And I'm trying to get down. I sat for 20 minutes on the top of the roof, afraid to get my body over the ladder.
Right.
I'm older. It's different. I look at things different. You know?
I agree with you on that, but do you think you really can equate that to a young man carrying that assault rifle to a protest? Now, let me ask you. This is a thing that I think a lot of people are confused. First and foremost, people of color are going to sit back and we're going to say, he's a little murderer and stuff like that. And there might be some whites and some blacks, some Latins or whomever that might feel the same way. But then there are some people that this is all about amendment rights. This is all about he was there to protect something and he was going against the protesters, right? So now this becomes about the protesting.
Well, those were rioters, right? Like that. There was protesters and there's rioters. And the one there was a rioter, right?
The people that he shot were not rioters.
No, actually, that's come out in this trial, right? They were able to use the rioter because watch the closing argument of the DA. I caught a chunk of it, small chunk, but it was going into talking about that, the guy set this fire. He flipped over, this wood pallet truck. That there were some things he was doing. That's not protesting, right? When you're destroying things, you're not protesting. But he destroyed property, right? So calling it riot at that point, I think is fair.
Like Debbie Coleman is in the building. Shout out to her, aficionado, professional in this field. She said his crime was a good defense strategy. She says she tells her clients all the time, sympathy card.
100%.
No,
that's what being a defense is.
I'm not disputing the sympathy card.
Yeah.
No means. I think from a person that was deemed an expert witness, I think his testimony was great. They trained him well in what to say and how to speak, unequivocally. Let me tell you something. Talk about 3 6s on his head. He was able to articulate himself. I don't even know how many times they went over and over and over and over, but he was very well prepared.
It sounds like the prosecutor was outmatched.
Yes. What do you think about the judge? Tell me what you think about the judge. Have you seen anything about the judge?
No, I saw like that one clip where the judge, was yelling at the prosecutor. Look, there are rules. You can't say certain things, and if you're going to violate that, the judge is going to come at you. I don't see anything.
So, do you think the judge?
I think it'll be determined the judge was fine. For what I've seen a little bit, you got to understand this is an extremely high-profile case.
Absolutely.
Like so you would have to, as a judge, be willing to toss your career for Kyle Rittenhouse, right? Like you'd have to be that strong of belief to intentionally help him. I like to think that's a very hard, press case to find.
Right.
And the judge in this case was selected, right, because of history and work ethic and things. I know this. If this Harvey Weinstein trial in New York, right? It wasn't just any old judge that gets picked. It is a top-notch judge that gets picked because it's a high-profile case. Now, Kenosha is a smaller place. It's a different world. I get that. But it's there and it's public. I'm still going to go with it. Sounds to me more like the DA was outmatched. And maybe the DA wasn't just outmatched. Maybe the case just isn't there. As much as it bothers us, if there was a charge for possessing the gun on the street, for being there, easy.
Well, they threw that charge out.
Yeah.
What do you feel about that?
What charge did they throw out?
About him being underage, having that gun. Shout out to Johnny Gleason in the building. 2-8 in the building, baby. Kevin Prentice is in the building. Junior Blake is in the building. 2-8 strong. What's up, Mark? It's almost like they took You can't ask a person to sit down and eat and then tell them they can't eat with their hands, they can't eat with their face, they can't eat with their feet, and then I'll take the utensils away. They took away the fact that he was an underage, he's a minor with a gun. They threw that out already. So you can't even charge him with that.
But what is? I'd have to look at that. Kyle Rittenhouse, what charges dismissed? I'll look it up for a second.
Yeah, go ahead, look it up. Everybody, this is
why was it dismissed? Is it because
my co-host? Go ahead. I'm sorry, Kevin. Go ahead.
Is it because the charges weren't legit, weren't good? Like, it wasn't the murder charges, it wasn't the shooting charges that were dismissed. He dismissed some lower ones. Why? I don't. Like Bill. Unfortunately for you and I, we have great knowledge of New York law. We have zero knowledge of. I don't even know what state Kenosha's in. How's that for an answer? God's honest truth, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not too far from behind you with that one either.
And it's a misdemeanor gun charge that was dismissed.
Yeah. Shout out to Hector Rodriguez in the building. Also,
and let's be honest, if he's convicted of a misdemeanor charge, he's never going to jail. He's 17 years old.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's a misdemeanor gun charge that was dismissed. There's no way a 17-year-old is going to be in jail for that.
Deb said, Eunice, hey Eunice, she said it's in Wisconsin. Okay. Colin said the judge would be the keynote speaker at the CPA.
I don't know if he meant the judge or if he meant Rittenhouse.
Oh, probably both. They'll probably be there together. Deb said the judge said the charge.
Tell Colin I'll be there too.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Front row.
Deb said the judge threw the charge out because it was confusing as written, therefore dismissed it. Deb, I would, if that was I would love for you to be here to give us some insight. I don't know if you can, but please give it to us from where you are and your wherever you are. But if you was able to come on, please, I would love for you to come on and give us some insight, because we need a lawyer to break this shit down to us, because the bottom line is this shit is real different right now. It's crazy. We have a little young man, whatever you want to call him, depends on how you feel about him. And this really comes down to defending yourself, right? That's what it is. The amendment right to carry a gun. Like, he's 17 years old. I'm a medic. He shoots somebody. He goes and looks at them that they're dying. He doesn't render aid. Okay, like, wow, you're a medic. You're on stand, like Deb said, you're crying. I thought somebody was. Listen, you have a gun, and now you're afraid that somebody's going to take it away from you. You're talking about somebody who's going to shoot you. First and foremost, anybody that's seen that video, listen, don't go in the ring if you ain't trying to get hit, right? Don't go in the ring if you ain't trying to get hit. You go there with that kind of gun, and you're pointing it at people, right? You're there you're 17 years old, protect property. You should be home watching like Transformers or some shit. Like, really? Like, what are you doing there? I don't get it. I don't understand it. Colin said Rittenhouse. That's what he was talking about. Yeah, he'll probably do that. Everybody, what's your thoughts on this? Do you think he's going to get off? Right in. You think he's going to get off, or you think he's going to do some time? I don't even know about that. We haven't even discussed the Aubrey case yet. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, I think the Aubrey case is going the other way.
Which way? What do you mean?
Well, I think this one's going to acquittal, and Aubrey's going to conviction.
Okay. Even with we'll go back and forth with this with the Aubrey case. I was listening to the testimony today. I think it was the closing arguments of Bryant's. Listen, first and foremost, the prosecution should destroy McMichaels on the stand today. Tomorrow, he should destroy him. He's going to get on there and deem that he's been trained in self-defense. He's been trained in how to de-escalate and handle situations. That shit didn't work for Mr. Aubrey. Your training went right out the window. If that's what you want to come up there and claim, that your training went right out the window. You know what I'm saying? And this is why, Kevin, we could talk about this too. This is why so many people of color have so little faith in the judicial system to see like this is a murder.
Which one?
Aubrey.
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens.
But see, that's what I'm trying to say.
We have to see. But Bill, I don't care how clear cut a trial is, and I can go through some in history where we thought it was a no-brainer. This is done, slam dunk, and there's acquittals, and it's mind blowing. And sometimes it's just a matter of you have a phenomenal defense team, you can get off. But Aubrey, to me, that's an easy one. I get, them seeing him going in that building and them calling the cops and following him and watching him for the cops to point out. That's your job if you want to go crazy. But to chase him down, that ain't their job. And now Aubrey's being chased by men with guns.
Only one person had a gun.
One gun. Yeah, but if Aubrey had a gun, I'm talking about Aubrey. If Aubrey turned around and had a gun himself and shot them, he'd be in the right. Yeah.
Aubrey was chased. Listen, and I know a lot of times you may not be privy to watching a lot of things. And if you want to, you can pull it up on YouTube now. You can pull up some of the testimony and the trials, and we can play some of it because right now they showed how Mr. Aubrey ran, and the truck they tried to block him in, and then he ran the other way. So it's obviously he was trying to get away from this shit.
Yeah, and at best he was trespassing in a vacant building under construction, right? That's the crime under suspicion. This is not, and we've seen this once in a blue moon. It happens where, he tried to abduct a kid, right? Grabs a little kid on the street, throws him in his car, and the people on the street go chase him down and catch him. And then I don't care what they do to him. But that's kind of street justice, and he wasn't caught in the middle of raping some woman. He's caught in a building under construction, so at best you have a trespass.
But it's only a trespass if
but that's it. Yeah, that's the best. But as the witness, the neighbors, the people in the town, that's what you have. You have a guy trespassing. 911, and mind your business. There's no. To me, this one, there's no self-defense. There's no stand your ground. It's got to be a conviction.
Coming to the show is Amir Sealy, and shout out to Amir coming in. He's going to chime in with us. He's like our special guest whenever he wants to be here. Shout out to Sharon in the building. Shout out to let me see, everybody. Veroni Lawrence, Hector Rodriguez in the building. First, let me just say this. Debbie said, I'm really disheartened by the racial makeup of the jury. It is very sad to see that the way it is. Amir, what's up, brother? How are you today?
Good evening, Bill. Good evening, Kevin. It's great to see both of you gentlemen. I'm good. I'm like everybody else. You're kind of on pins and needles a little bit with these two trials going on, and kind of in the mind frame and the mindset that you're going to get, like Kevin just said a minute ago, two different verdicts, which obviously is going to set everybody kind of on fire. But I think and this was something I said the other night. You had me on your show, and I was thankful of that moment as well. I think that our judicial system, unfortunately, sometimes is set up in ways that, in order for certain pockets of the country to feel as though justice has been served, they hand out certain things so that people can feel justified in what is, what has been done. I said this the other night, and this is again no knock to law enforcement as a collective. This is just, again, isolated incidences. But I think the George Floyd situation and the conviction in that particular situation, even though it seemed, like I said, a slam dunk even the other night, I think has caused the country to feel a bit slighted, even in that situation. And in order to kind of right the overall energy of the country, they're coming back with something to allow this young man off. I said this the other night, and like I said, I'm not as versed in the laws as you gentlemen are in terms of open carry and all these varying things. But I said, I just don't understand how a mother is allowed to drive her 17-year-old son across state lines and allow him to participate in what appeared to have been some unrest or whatever, and there was nothing said or done about her part in this situation. And I said, especially when we live in a country where we have African American mothers. I can't think of the names of any of the mothers offhand at this particular time who unfortunately are sitting in jail right now because they just changed the address of their children's address so that the children could go to better schools. The kids didn't commit any crimes. They didn't do anything unlawful. They just wanted to, give their children the opportunity to have a better education. And some of these mothers are sitting in jail right now just for that. And it just, it stems to obviously a bigger misnomer, which is our judicial system having some issues. And if and when that is going to truly be addressed, and it goes back to, and unfortunately lands also under the guise of some of the older people who for generations have had certain ideologies passed down within their family. So there may be the ideology that people of color aren't educated, aren't smart, and various things. And because you've been hearing it for so long, you've gotten used to that, and or some of the imagery that has been portrayed in some ways. Again, you gentlemen in law enforcement, so I can't imagine how difficult your jobs are and what you're facing on a constant, everyday, regular basis. But I can say that once you start doing a blanketed situation when it comes to everybody, it doesn't matter, make a difference what nationality, what gender, what race we're talking about. That's not fair, because case by case, obviously things change. And I think that that's really what we're up against. You know what I mean?
Kevin, I'm gonna let you respond. I just want to read some comments real quick, Kevin, and then Kevin, the floor is yours. My man Norm, I think I read what Norm said about we had to carry guns, and we weren't able to make that kind of decisions like that. Debbie Coleman said they should not be allowed to use stand your ground argument in the Aubrey case. This is not that type of situation the law was meant to apply to. Exactly. Norm said the justice system is not for people of color, and we have been getting murdered, raped, hung, and beaten by the country we so proudly protected. Exactly. Eunice Collins says we have two judicial systems, state and federal, and this is something we should address. Go ahead, Kevin.
So, Amir, I agree with your things, but I want to ask you something. The school one, the charge actually that is if I did it within New York City and pretended to live one place, not another, it's the same school district, same money, same thing, it's not a crime. But if I did it in different counties where the people are paying their taxes for it, that's the crime. It's stealing from it. It's the fraud. It's the theft. That's what they charge. I've seen it a couple of times. I don't agree with charging it. I agree with if you could throw the kid out. I think that should be solved right there. When I'm with you, it shouldn't be charged. I don't know what the charge is for this woman. If she gave him the gun, I'm in 100%. What I'm understanding of this, she didn't give him the gun. He didn't get the gun till after he left her sight. So
okay.
What can we charge her with? Bad parenting.
Okay.
Are you a moron? Yes.
Okay.
But what can we? I don't.
Well, see, and to your point, Kevin, and that's what I mean about how off-putting some of our judicial system is. Now, I get that, obviously, as you just stated, from state to state, the rules change, the laws change, and I get all of that.
Yeah.
technically speaking, I think that it's funny that 400 years or however many years now we supposedly have had the Constitution in place, we haven't done a better job of, wait a minute, let's kind of get some, some similarities here. Because as you gentlemen both know, sometimes we hear of laws that are still on books around the country that aren't in other places around the country. And you sort of like, really? Like, how is that
There were
still?
rules on the books here about horse and buggy rules for in New York, like at the foots of the city hall. Like there are rules on the books. You just go,
What are we doing?
And yeah,
So-
there are different stand your ground rules and
So-
public carry. Seeing people that protest with guns is ridiculous.
So I think that, to your exact point, though, like you said, we don't know what could be charged to this woman. I'm just saying that as a mom, you have a 17-year-old son. At the time, he was 17. I know for a fact, and like I, stated on the show earlier this week, and Bill could attest to this, I have an African-American mom. My mom didn't allow us to have clothes or any article or something that was somebody else's. If she saw you with somebody else's jacket, her response was, hey, go and give Bill back his jacket and you get your jacket back from Bill. I didn't buy that for you, whatever. So I'm just saying, how has her character not been called into question, her judgment not been called into question? Because then it leads to the fact that maybe her son has questionable judgment because his mama's might be a little off. I don't want to call her stupid or, say anything out of line. I don't know the woman. But that's what I mean by that, Kevin. And to me, that's absolutely not fair because to your point, if we're talking about resources, and I say this all the time, I'm sick and tired of that being a thing that people stand on because let's be clear. The redlining that happened and has been happening since the 60s, 70s, 50s, or whatever is the reason why we have education in some areas better than education in others, one. Two, because the fact that the government technically played a hand in organizing these spaces and places, then y'all can't come back and go, oh, well, this is not fair. You designed it that way. See, that's what I'm having a problem with is our inability to stand in truth and justice when it comes to honestly saying that the fact that we have done certain things or specific things that we know are detrimental to anybody. It doesn't make a difference if it's black, white, Asian, or whatever. Let's own up to that. We sitting around here, we're picking at straws, we're doing things and saying things that fit our narrative in our moment, as opposed to, wait a minute, this is a bigger problem and a bigger situation. And that's where I have the issue. It's not, like I said, as a personal thing or whatever. I'm talking about the bigger picture and the bigger narrative. And to these two cases, we're talking about narratives and a precedent that's going to be set forth that has seemingly been one of the bedrocks of the judicial system as we know it today. And that's not fair because what tends to happen is then we get the same situation where someone of African-American descent or some other person of color has something similar and it doesn't even go remotely close to the same way this one goes. Yeah. So that's where we having the problems. If we're going to play fair, then play fair across the board 100%. Don't do it when it comes to specific situations, and then when it comes to other ones, we totally turn a blind eye. To your point, and like I said, we talk about the judicial system, and obviously this was eons and eons ago in the sense of when it happened. But we remember the Central Park Five. Now the exonerated five. We remember how hard everybody went, and they were terrible, and this, and that, and the third. And then we came to find out that these gentlemen weren't responsible and didn't have anything to do with it. But the picture that was painted of them, the backlash and the hard stuff that their families had to go through and friends had to go through. And I always say that that's the tough part of this. It's not it is what the person who is going through it has to deal with. But it's all of the other things that go along with it, Kevin. I can tell you this from a personal standpoint. This is a fun thing, but it's not a fun thing. So I have a brother. I don't know if you're aware of this, but my brother used to be a professional basketball player. And he used to play. He got drafted by the Indiana Pacers. He played for the Pacers, Detroit Pistons, the Clippers, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. My late brother is the late Malik Sealy. But long story short, one time he had left his playbook in the airport. And David Stern got a hold of it some kind of way, and they blasted my brother. But the biggest thing from it was this whole story that was told that he and Robin Givens had an affair of some sort. My brother didn't even know Robin Givens at the time. But that's what I mean tends to happen sometimes with some of these situations. It spirals out of control in a way that now the family and the friends have to deal with it in a way that they like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? And that, to me, again, is part of the unfortunate energy that goes along with how these things are handled sometimes. And that's not cool.
Yeah. Hold on, everybody. This is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host Kevin Branzetti and my special co-host Amir Sealy. And I ask any of you, if you want to join in, text me, inbox me, or write in the comments here. I'll send you the link. You're more to come in. Real Talk is about us sharing our vast knowledge and have a communicative conversation on this situation right here and the things that we talk about. Norm said the laws never need to be rewritten, and some lawyers of color need to be included. You know what I'm saying? Also, too, about race theory, teaching that in school. Like there's just so many different things that are happening that they're not allowing us. Kevin, please chime in and tell me what you're feeling. You can comment on what Amir said. Just your thoughts and comments.
I mean, Amir said a whole lot of things, but I'll throw a couple of quick things. I'm with you on like the school things, and I've talked about this a bunch of times, and I haven't seen this change in the city of New York. Where are our worst public schools? Where in New York City, where are our worst public schools? Right? They're in poor neighborhoods. They're public schools, and yet the rich side of our town gets a better public school than the poor side of our town. Same public school system in New York City. And to me, it should be the complete opposite.
Right.
We should be investing in our poorer neighborhoods, our public schools. The classroom shouldn't be 40 kids, 45 kids. It should be 20, right? We need to spend money where it belongs. And I don't see a Democrat, Republican, billionaire, or anybody doing this, right? Like progressive, you name your topic, a category that these guys and gals run on. They ain't changing it. They don't change anything. The media with your brother, Amir, I'll tell you, any big media story, they get it all wrong. There's tons of misinformation and tons of if you've ever been in a story, like you have been in a story, your brother has been in a story, so you've seen it firsthand, there's no responsibility to fact check. It's a responsibility on media to just get more. And I've talked to people like who've been part of the big Sony breach to major crime incidents to us in law enforcement seeing things. They don't get it right. And we, the public, are stuck with this. And we listen to the misinformation, and that kind of further creates this wonderful divide we have in our country right now. So that's a sad set of circumstances. I can look up name an incident. I go on 4 different websites, news sites, and I'll get you different opinions, right? I can get things that will tell me that kid, his mother gave him the gun. There are plenty of websites who are putting that out there. Right? And I'll get you sites that saying he got the gun from somebody else when he was in there. And only if you watch the trial and see what was put into evidence, you'll know what actually happened. And which one of us can do that? Yeah.
So Kev, let me ask you a question, and then Amir can comment on it. Give me your professional, and then give me your personal feelings on this. Do you think he should get off?
So the little bits I've seen is self-defense, right? People are attacking him. We talk about, how about this? Here's this scenario, Bill. Let's go to the DC riots, insurrection, whatever terminology you want to use. Doesn't matter to me. If you had a group of people from the DC area who armed themselves, got guns, and stayed outside a section of DC to protect property, and these Trump rioters, crazy people came down there and attacked one of them with a gun, and they got shot, would you have blinked an eye?
You're asking me on a color theory now? Is this?
I'm saying I'm not going color. I'm going on politics. I didn't go on color. I went on the Trump people.
Well, that's what. So
I didn't say anything about color.
No, I'm asking. That's why I'm asking. So because I want clarity. So you're telling me, ask the question again. You're saying
if this January 6th riots, insurrection, whatever it's all the above.
Right.
Those a group in DC, people, civilians, arm themselves and say, we're going to protect this area. All right? They arm themselves to protect that area. rioters from the insurrection go that direction. One of them tries to attack somebody with a gun and gets shot. Would we care?
Of course, I mean, we should care. I mean, the bottom line is a life is lost. But now the bottom line is,
would
wait, hold on.
would we be looking to have care? Okay, care's the wrong word. Would we be looking to have that person in DC arrested?
You know what's so funny? You're talking about protecting a government property.
No, I'm not talking about property. I'm saying civilians in town protecting just CVS and other businesses in town. They're not protecting government property. I'm not talking about they worked in front. I'm not talking about going in. I'm saying rioters left the Capitol.
So basically,
and they're making their way through DC streets.
So basically, you're asking about Democratic versus Republican right now, because that's what that's the question.
Well, I don't consider that Republican, but fine.
Well,
I'm Republican. I'm not in that group.
No, I mean, and like I always say, it doesn't make a person bad to be a Republican, because the bottom line is there's a difference between Republicans and Trump supporters. I've always said that. So, I mean, I don't have a problem saying that, and I'll say that to anybody. If you support Trump, I'm going to look at you sideways. If you're a Republican, I'm not going to look at you a certain way, because the bottom line is you have a right to pick. And I mean, you have a right to be a Trump supporter too, but, I'm going to look at you real left. Because now I think you damn near badass crazy. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean,
being a de Blasio supporter, I would look at you as nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. If somebody told me they was a de Blasio supporter right now, I'll look at you badass crazy too. So, and it is what it is. But when we're talking about somebody storming the government, I mean,
it's after storming the government. I'm saying they left that storming the government, and they're running through the streets of DC, destroying property.
Are you asking me, would I be mad if somebody put a cap in their ass? Listen, if this,
you see the hesitation?
No, yeah, but you know why I can't answer that? Because the bottom line is, it's the same reason why people of color are upset with the situation, and this is why certain people that are not. Because the bottom line is, people are going to choose sides. He shot people that were standing up for George Floyd. Right, even though they're white, he shot a Jewish man. He shot white people. White people should be outraged, not people of color. The bottom line is people are of color, because the bottom line is this was a young punk that was out there toting a gun, acting like he was Wyatt Earp. White people should be upset because he's shooting white people. The bottom line is black people don't have a nickel in this damn dime. But the thing is, we're still looking for justice, and the thing is, we're not even going to see it done against a white person. And that's
Kevin,
go ahead.
Can I say this, Kev? Sure. To the example that you gave, here's my only because you didn't add this, and maybe you meant to add it. My only problem with this young man is, again, you drove across state lines. Here's the big thing: you could have sat your ass home and not been a part of nothing.
100%. He doesn't belong there. I'm with you.
So the fact that you decided to leave your home where there was no rioting going on, there was no drama, you weren't in any jeopardy, and go be part of something that didn't necessarily have anything to do with you per se, you need to be held accountable for that. And I don't care if you shot somebody in a wheelchair. I don't care if you shot somebody's car. You weren't supposed to be there. Like I said, the one thing that I know...
I got to fight you on that one a minute, and I'm going to throw something at you.
Okay.
The Kenosha rioters, right, aren't from Kenosha.
Okay, but here's my thing.
They shouldn't have been there.
They shouldn't have been there as well. But my point is, as a 17-year-old, 17, not 25, not 21, where you have a little more worldly knowledge, you're 17. Your punk ass is supposed to be home relaxing. And I mean that with every bit of virulence that you
and working and
whatever.
And because young ladies.
Exactly. Because in all fairness, like I said, at 17 years old, your job isn't to go out and protect anything unless it comes to your doorstep. And they did not come to his doorstep. He went across state lines and then decided he would have a round of Call of Duty in real time or some wild thing like that. And Kevin, I don't care how anybody slices that. There is no justification for that, because that's not your call. Your call was to sit home.
You're not justifying him being there. See, there's a difference of, like, we all agree he shouldn't have been there. The question is, but he's there. Right? He's there, and he's armed. Is Is he defending himself or is he murdering?
No, because you shouldn't have been there. See, look,
it doesn't matter in the end. And,
Kev,
more of this.
But Kev, it does matter, because the reality of it all is, if you are home watching it like most of us were, you were home. I was home.
No,
I didn't jump on
his gun. Let's go this way, Amir. Let's look at the other side of this. He's standing there. He ain't hiding his gun. He's standing there with an AR, large, can't miss it, and people ran up to him.
But my point is,
what the heck do they think? Why are you going after a guy with a gun?
Because in all fairness, I'm sure most of them were kind of like, what is this kid doing here with a gun? Look,
you know what you're supposed to do with a man standing there with a gun? Move away.
I'm with you, Kev. This wasn't it wasn't a kid standing there with a gun who had a National Guard uniform on.
Which makes it more dangerous.
But my point is, at least you can understand that, because he would have been acting, quote unquote, possibly by order or so forth and so on. Young man, this wasn't your job. Your job was not to go anywhere near this situation. Your job was to sit home like the rest of us and go, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Like I said, unless it came to your doorstep.
Amir, hold on for a second. Kevin, I want to ask you a question. And I'm going to give you a scenario. Got a man walking down the street. He looks down to the left, looks down the alley, and he sees 3 punks down there. Whatever color the punks you want them to be. He walks down the alley, and he knows that the punks are down there, and he sees them, and he sees that they have no good energy to them. When he gets to them, they confront him and ask him for his money, tell him they're going to rob him. And now he pulls out his gun and he shoots him, because they didn't know he was going to have a gun. He didn't, but the bottom line is, he went down that alley. He didn't have to go down that alley. How do we hold him accountable for going down that alley?
Once they demanded his money in the robbery, no.
And see, that's where I'm trying to say. I said to you earlier in the beginning of the show, I'm tired, and I think a lot of people of color, people can speak for themselves. So let me speak personally. I'm tired of people. I can say white people. I can say people putting themselves in situations, and then they get their ass handed to them. Well, it's almost like going on a ride at a.
In this scenario, who put them in the situation to get their ass handed to them? The guy who got shot or him?
He did, because he didn't have to be there. He didn't have to be there. No.
He is that guy with the gun, and the people walked up to him and attacked him.
So Kevin, you counting to 10, but you're forgetting 1 to 5. You going 5 to 10.
Okay.
All right. I mean, as long as you understand that that's what you're doing.
I don't know what that means, but
that means you're not holding the person accountable for anything. So like I said, the fact of it is he has no accountability. So wait a minute, Kevin.
What do you Bill?
Okay. So let me ask
this. He shouldn't be there. I'm with you, and we need to change our laws that at no protest you should be able to carry. I don't care what the carry right is of that city, state.
I was going to say he had an assault rifle.
You should not be allowed.
He had a 45 or 38. He had an actual assault rifle.
And we've seen that at protests all over this country. We have seen, white groups, black groups, people in military stuff coming there. We're going to save the world with their guns. None of that should exist. And that's part of the mistake we have of rules here. Like, all right, your state has open carry, fine. But at a protest, nobody belongs there with a gun, because what good could come out of it?
Something could go wrong.
What good could come out of it? None. And maybe that's a law we need to look at as a people and say, are we for real?
Now, I think that you make a valid point of saying these, people approaching them or whatever. But again, the point is, I'm 25, 27, or whatever. I see this kid, he got a whole assault rifle. I am going to be like, what the heck is going on? Why are you
walking up
here?
to him and hitting him with your skateboard?
But my
okay,
thing is
okay,
this.
Amir, Kevin, I'm gonna ask both of you this question.
Okay.
Because Kevin, and this is really pertaining to you, Kevin, and then Amir, you can chime in. Kevin, you know, in New York City, if somebody drinks and drives and kills somebody, what's that crime?
Manslaughter.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, the bottom line is they knowingly got behind the wheel, right? They can call it reckless endangerment if it's a lesser crime if they don't kill them, right? They knowingly go someplace and they get behind the wheel and drive.
Okay.
And cause property damage or whatever the case may be. Why is this he's not accountable for that situation?
Bill, if I walk up to you and me are on the street, I walk up to you, I say, fuck you, put my fist up and take a swing at you. And you beat my ass. You get locked up?
Yes.
No, you don't.
Why not? It's
Why would you
fighting
get
in the
locked up?
street. It's still
disorderly conduct. You're not getting charged with assault. Don't give me the disorderly conduct.
No, but I'm saying I'm still going to get arrested.
Out.
I'm still going to get arrested. Maybe. Depending on the cop.
All right, we're going to depend on the cop doing something wrong. Bill, is that a legit charge? Should you be arrested?
No, hell no.
Okay, right. I walked up to you. I started the fight. I picked a fight I couldn't win. The guy's like, if he had his gun hidden, maybe I have a different. It's there. Why are you walking up? I completely disagree with him being there, and I want that law changed. Right?
Okay,
he should have been arrested for being there with an assault rifle. Period. This would have been over.
Do you think he sold some wolf tickets that his ass? And I don't know in the white community, but in the black community, we'll say this comment: "Don't write a check that your ass can't cash." Mm-hmm. Right? Could it be? And I know you understand that verbiage. Could it be that he wrote a check that his ass couldn't cash, 100%. And that's why he shot? It's the same thing like I told you about George Zimmerman. It's the same thing about the Amir Audrey case.
No, Audrey's different.
No, yeah, because it's total murderers. But the bottom line is, listen.
Like I don't like Rittenhouse. Don't get me wrong. I don't like this kid. I am not one of these guys on the right who think this kid's a hero. And no.
I don't think.
But it's just not a clean case.
Okay, but to your point about it not being a clean case, Kev, you've already, like you said, agreed with the fact that obviously he shouldn't have been there. But doesn't this send a messed up precedence when you are there and you do have an assault rifle and you are underage and you are over state lines and there's nothing to say, hey, sit your ass in the house and mind your goddamn business, because that's really what should be said here if they charge this young man the proper way. Because then young people will go, let me mind my goddamn business. Now, again, like I said, it's a whole different scenario. If this thing rolls up to your house or rolls up on your block or in your neighborhood, that's a whole nother scenario, a whole different situation. But when you go, because to me, you went looking for this, whether you got the assault rifle after you got there, whatever, none of that makes a difference to me. The fact is, you had the opportunity to sit home and totally let this thing play out the way that it's going to play.
But the problem with that, Amir, so did the other side.
No, but we're not talking about the other side. But we're not. But right now, we're not talking about the other side. We're not talking about the other.
But they shouldn't have been there either. It shouldn't have attacked them.
I'm with you, but we're not talking about the other side from this standpoint. The other side didn't shoot him. He shot them. And it doesn't make a difference if supposedly he couldn't fight. If you couldn't fight, you can't fight. That's just a given. Yeah. But that doesn't give you
like if people were throwing Molotov cocktails into CVS and he shot them, murder.
What does that? What does he have? Does he have stake or ownership in CVS?
That's murder. I got no. Like I'm saying, like I got no. Like if he was doing that, if he was using his gun to protect property, I got no problem with charging him. The problem is he used it to protect himself.
But here's my thing. Protect yourself from a situation where, again, you should have never been.
There's nothing in the law saying, and I agree, go any state on this one. There's nothing in the law stating that part matters.
Now, see, now to your point, but do you see why then it's a messed up situation? So that doesn't justify it because there's nothing in the law to say that. Because in all fairness, that we could give tons of guys a pass for being places that they wasn't supposed to be, that are in jail and doing hard time. They wasn't supposed to be.
It was supposed to be, but then you did like again. Is
he did a crime too. The minute you shoot somebody, it's a crime. I don't care if you're protecting.
We're going to find out shortly if it's a crime.
So let me understand this, Kev. Shooting one person wasn't a situation for him to get out of there. And again, you got an assault rifle, this, that, the third. Where was his running skills? Why didn't he just run? Why didn't he just run? He got an assault rifle.
He is running him yet. They chased him down as he's running.
If you shot me or shot at Kev, if somebody shot at you and or did something that you thought was detrimental to you, you mean to tell me you're not going to chase them down?
You don't change it on me, mate. You just said he runs. So I gave you. He did run, and they chased him.
But my point to you is,
and they assaulted him, knocked him to the ground. He shot more. Like
okay, but the point is, again,
coming.
Obviously, he's not that great a runner. Then that's what we should take away from this. Is that what we should take away? He's not that great a runner. And if so, again, does that justify? Does that justify you shooting other people? I'm just saying.
You threw the flag in.
I'm just curious.
Dude.
I'm just curious. I'm not, Kev. I'm not going against what you're saying. I'm just saying, in all fairness, if you shoot one person or whatever the case may be, and it doesn't stop people, okay. The other thing, why didn't you throw down the gun and then run? And not that it would have been great to see you drop a assault rifle in the middle of a whatever was going on, But if you felt, you know what, let me get the hell out of here. You didn't do that. The point is, we can give scenarios all day for what.
So if we're on the street, that story again, where I walk up to Bill and I punch Bill. Bill's job is to run. Not
if Bill can fight. Nope. Bill's gonna stand there and give you a beating. That's what's gonna happen there. But
and what if Bill loses that fight? So what if it turns out I punch Bill in the face, Bill puts his hands up and says, all right, let's go. And we go and I kick Bill's ass. Is your answer going to be he should have ran? No. He should have ran.
Yes.
I'm still back. They went at him. They chased him.
But hold on. Let me interject for a second. If Bill knew that he can't fight, then Bill was supposed to run.
That's all I'm saying. And like I said,
and that's the so. But it's not your fault. You're still blaming.
I'm blaming.
The problem is he was assaulted first. The problem is they're attacking him.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
It's the problem with this. It's a tough one. Look, again, we'll go back to the beginning of this. I don't like the kid. I don't think any protest in this world we should be allowed to carry a weapon.
So let me just ask you this, Kevin, and I totally get. I hear you when you say you don't like the kid because you're talking from a point of a parent. You're talking from a point of a law enforcement aspect. He added fuel to a fire. Am I correct when you feel that way? He added fuel to the fire. There was no way his little punk ass was supposed to be out there in that situation. But now and that's why I said you're going from 5 to 10 instead of from 1 to 5. You understand 1 to 5 that he wasn't supposed to be there
because that's the personal level of how I feel, and then there's the criminal. And it's different.
And that's what I'm talking about. In there lies the problem. What Amir's saying, and I think a lot of people are feeling, and that's true because we're taking emotion in lieu of facts. The bottom line, the law states you can carry a gun. You little young punk, you can carry a gun. In Wisconsin, you can do a lot of shit that you can't do in New York. So I get it. We all get it. But what we don't understand is that how are you not held accountability? And I think maybe we are morally getting it effed up because morally we're like, you should have not been there. You know what I'm saying? I think all of us morally are saying you should have not been there. But what I think a lot of us are looking for is the fact that how can we not find a reason to justify why he should not be charged, because he shouldn't have been there in the first place. You understand what I'm trying to say? Like, you don't go to a drug house and then when they raid the drug house, talk about, well, I was just here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not a drug dealer. Yo, you should have been here. You're going to get arrested for possession or something. Go ahead, Amir.
To Bill's point, Kev, I'm just saying this sets also a bad precedent going forward because, unfortunately, whether it's another kid like Rittenhouse or it's a African kid named Rayshawn, whatever, they'll think that this is a loophole and a thing that they can do and or get away with. And my point is, let's stop this so that we don't have any more incidences of this nature. You can't stop this unless you set a precedence by saying, hey, like I said, you weren't supposed to be there, young man. So part of the responsibility of what happened, the events after you being there when you wasn't supposed to be there, were these things. You're got to be held accountable for that because, again, you were supposed to be home like every other 17-year-old kid or some 17-year-old kids who were home just going like this. I know that's CVS. I know what that is. I'm going to mind my business, but I'll go by there tomorrow and see that and whatever. Like I said, I'm old enough. I'm 52 years old, Kevin. I'm old enough to remember several things that went on in this city that I was like, blackouts, the 70s, all that kind of stuff. But I was in the house. My mom was like, hey, sit your ass in your room.
Yeah. I just thought about that. Let me interject for a second. Shout out to T. O'Neill, 2-8 in the building. We in the 2-8 strong tonight. But Amir, I want to ask you before we close out tonight, which we're not doing now, but I want to ask you, the people that shot Malcolm X, I think they're trying to let them go. Later on, I want you.
They're being exonerated. Yeah,
exonerated. What's your thought process on that? Because your father was a bodyguard to Malcolm X.
I have mixed feelings and mixed emotions about that whole thing. So I'm just gonna say this. I think that it's unfortunate again that we live in a world where certain entities can come together and or work in conjunction with one another and cause the demise of a situation. And again, there be no accountability based off of other moving factors. I'll just put it that way. I don't want to, specifically indict anyone and or say that this person is right or this person is wrong. For a very long part of, my life, that wasn't something that was brought up. As a matter of fact, I think when I came along, when I was born was, when Malcolm X and my parents, along with the other Muslims had, started to move away from the Nation of Islam at that time. And from my knowledge, there was a dissension amongst the ranks. And it was, just like we're doing with Republicans and liberals and Democrats and all this stuff. And I think that, again, it's unfortunate that we tend to be emotional about situations as opposed to looking at the facts, as Kevin stated, and even in this case, we want to go off of emotion and we want to react off of emotion. And I think that whatever is going on in this particular case, there's a lot of emotion involved, and I don't think, to be honest with you, the people who quote unquote were really responsible for it in the first place were ever caught. I think that those were people who were set up to be a part of what looked like, the people who were involved. And I think there's always, unfortunate because the way that game is played, I see people spiral or move into spaces and places that you then kind of look and go, interesting how you ended up there. But that's me speaking for me. So like I said, I'll just say that.
You know what I'm trying to do? If I get a chance, his daughter, shout out to Malcolm X's daughter. I'm gonna see if I can get her on and see if she wants to talk about this. I don't know how she may feel emotionally. Sometimes with Real Talk, we can delve into the emotion and we can touch that subject. And we are sensitive to whomever comes on and has emotional things of that aspect. But the bottom line is, as journalists right now, is what we do in this podcast world. I will try to find out if I can get her to converse about that and what she feels personally about that. I think such a high profile situation, just like with the Kennedy situation, the what's his name was I think he's up for parole or something like that. I think something so high profile like that, I think people will automatically be like, no, let him stay, rot in hell. You understand what I'm saying? Where there are some people that'll be like, well, wait a minute, he did 55 years of his life. How much punishment can he do? But no, you took away Robert Kennedy or you took away Malcolm X. You know what I'm saying? Damn you, rot in hell. I mean,
It's to your exact point, and this was something that you brought up, like you said a moment ago. As you know, Bill, Kevin, you may or may not know this, but my brother was killed by vehicular manslaughter back in 2000 in Minnesota, and the gentleman who did it, he had a blood level alcohol of 1.9 or something like that, which was double the legal limit. Long story short, the man went to jail for I want to say 5 or 6 years or something like that. Got out, committed the exact same crime. Literally, got out, committed the exact same crime. So sometimes, it's unfortunate that, these people or, people sometimes obviously don't learn or are not prepared to really deal with whatever, thing that they've done. And that's why I said, while I understand this is emotional for so many of us, this Rittenhouse thing, my thing is the precedent that's being set by it, because you'll have kids all over the country saying to themselves that, maybe it's okay for me to run over here and, do A, B, C, and D. And if you start opening that door, then you got to give every kid that pass. And I know for a fact that that's not what will happen. And that's the part of it that I don't want to see, to be honest with you. So I said that.
Two things with that, I agree with you. One, this is bad for the one reason of there are kids who are seeing this and see Rittenhouse as a hero, no different than they saw Columbine kids as a hero and other ones as I believe me, violent extremist has been my world for 15 plus years. This is what I work on. This is what I study. It bothers me. What I don't hear anywhere out there, a single politician, a single leader is saying that we need to change that law. Right? I don't hear a single person saying this. Right?
Why do you think that is, Kevin?
I don't know. But you can't, left, right, doesn't matter. I don't hear anybody saying it. I don't hear the parents of the two who are dead from this. If that was my child, you want your child to, God, if it happens, that you to have a legacy afterwards, like something good came out of something so bad or something so evil. But nobody's saying this. Nobody's like, we've turned this into an issue of gun rights and race. And I'm honestly, I don't see it as any of the above. The issue is, where the hell did we decide people can come to a protest with a freaking gun and think that's an okay thing to
Kevin,
do?
let me ask you a question. I know you personally, and I add this with all humility. You and I, we talk about race issues a lot, even when we in the text group. And you'll tell me, you'll be like, I don't feel this is about race, or I don't feel this is about white privilege. As fair as you are, how come you think you don't see what? Well, you're not going to see. Maybe I answered my own question. You're not going to see what I see. You're not going to see what the mayor sees, because the bottom line is, our eyes are totally different and our skin color is totally different. But I mean, I respect your opinion and everything like that. But the thing is, as fair as you try to be, sometimes you miss the boat. Right?
And sometimes you're on the wrong boat.
Touche.
Yeah.
Touche.
But here's the thing, Bill. What I fight with and argue about, right? Look, you know me. We have racism in this country, in this world. We've seen it or experienced it. It's there. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's the extent that at times people say. And if there's an incident, right, this incident, and I hear, well, it'd be different if he was black. He would have been shot by the cops. Well, that's the kind of stuff I just don't buy into. You can't tell me in this incident, this kid, if he was black on the street with a gun, would have been shot, because then what you're telling me is that cop there is a racist cop murderer.
Okay,
right?
so
And so you have no fact
I
to
want you
show
to
me
hold
that
that
the
thought.
cop's
I want
standing
you
there.
listen.
That's where we.
Listen. I want you to hold that thought. I want you to hold
Well,
that.
I get you going.
No, yeah, you know where I'm going. I want you to hold that thought like it's I dream of Genie's bottle. Hold that motherfucker. Exactly, because we're going to talk about what was just exposed, the two Kentucky officers. Go ahead, Kevin. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Kevin Branzetti, and our special co-host, Amir Sealy, in the building. And we're going to talk about those two law enforcement. But Amir, until Kevin comes back, give me your take on what you're seeing with the Amir Aubrey trial. Ahmaud Aubrey trial.
Again, I'm disheartened by, like I said, both of these trials. The Ahmaud Aubrey one is even more so because, now you're talking about a stand your ground sort of stance or whatever
Right.
you're using as a way to justify murdering this young man.
Yo, you know what's so funny, Amir? It's so disheartening to see a man. And I think you have been watching the trial. We text today, yesterday, but we didn't text too much today. We'll probably text tomorrow a lot in regards to the fact that this man, when you see the footage, this man was trying to still run away from these individuals. And they still trapped him and cornered him and then confronted him and then shot him. You know what I'm saying? And then tried to justify it by persuasive thinking. And Kev knows this. I'm telling you from a law enforcement standpoint, it's all suggestive thinking, suggestive dialogue. He looked like he was reaching for something. I saw him back up that way. He ducked this way. Listen, dead men tell no tales. So what am I hearing from you? I'm hearing your perspective of what you thought you saw and what your interpretation is. The bottom line is you went there and you chased that man because you was a racist bastard. You understand what I'm trying to say? Listen, don't sit here and tell me about what happened. And I'm gonna go on that road. Don't sit here and tell me about you was protecting your neighborhood. Maybe Bryant has a little leeway with this because he didn't shoot and he didn't do anything. So he might get off. And he followed because his lawyer made a good statement today. He did a good presentation on the point of, well, Bryant didn't do this. Bryant didn't do that. Bryant didn't have a gun. Bryant didn't pick up his hammer. So you're right. Okay, Bryant didn't do that. Brian saw his neighbors going. So yeah, if I see you out there fighting somebody in the street, I'ma jump in. I get it now. All right, for Brian's sake. But yo, these Michael people, you had a Confederate flag. Your ideology is that you thought this black guy is robbing a construction site that has no tools. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, to your, to the points that you're making and to the things that you're bringing to light, the first thing that comes to mind, and especially, when you're talking about where this unfortunate incident happened, and, the history books and history itself, unfortunately, is full of pictures and documented situations where groups of Caucasian men in particular, and especially in southern states, have always taken it upon themselves to delve out what they perceive or consider to be their own justice. It is, like I said, it's been documented. Y'all have seen the pictures. They stand around with the shotguns. They stand around with the holding their sons and so forth and so on. And that's why I said it's unfortunate, because that is a programming that hasn't gone away and or isn't unfortunately being challenged. It's sort of kind of still being embraced in some circles, not all circles, obviously. There are some people who are now speaking out against it. There are some people who are now feeling a way about that whole ideology. But unfortunately, the South as a bigger whole, that is more about what they hold on to in some cases as their ideology of what the South has been about and what the South is. Now, I say this because, again, I'm an African American male, and I've never said this on on your show, and especially with you two gentlemen, but this is true stories for me. I have been not accosted, but I've definitely been stopped by the police. And as y'all can see, I'm on this thing right now with a suit and tie on, and this is normally what my attire looks like. And all 3 times that I was stopped, I was dressed just like this. And quote unquote, it was said to me, I fit the description. I'm a smart ass sometimes. So I said to the officers at the time, I said, hey, I'm fitting the description of who? Somebody who's robbing and stealing from people down on Wall Street, because in my neighborhood, there's nobody running around robbing people who are in suit and ties in my neighborhood.
Absolutely.
But I didn't mean that to be disrespectful to the officers. I'm just saying, when you hit me with I fit the description, what description are we speaking of, officers? Because, like I said, I'm suited and booted, and like I said, this is my.
You fit the description of James Bond. What description did you fit?
You know, Amir. On that note, right? Because I've been accused of that on the street, right? As stopping somebody, guy that what description. Showed me this a long time ago. It was a young cop. Bill was Carlos. I'm gonna use his last name.
Okay.
But after he would stop somebody, frisk him, whatever, find out no weapon, said, look, you fit the description. He would go into the radio and say, ask the dispatcher, Central, can you repeat the call in the description? And Central would repeat it and say, it was a male black wearing a gray suit, this color tie, So the person heard it and was like, it was very crystal clear, but it was a great way of interacting with the person on the street. So it leaves little doubt in your mind when you walk away from me.
And it takes all the doubt away, Kevin. It takes all the doubt away.
Yeah. It's just
and like I said,
a little tactic. But it's not something they taught us in the academy. Not something that we standard procedure. I saw one cop in my career do that. And it stuck in my head because on just how smart it was.
So, and like I said, I wasn't overly upset by it because I knew that I didn't, had done anything and, so forth and so on. So I wasn't overly upset. But in all fairness, at the same time, like I said, same spaces, same places. One time it happened in the meatpacking district. One time it happened in my neighborhood up in the Bronx. But the meatpacking district in particular got me because I was headed down the train stairs and the 2 officers got me at the bottom of the stairs and they cornered me and, at the bottom of the stairs, which was fine. But I'm like, okay, so all of the, like I said, white or Caucasian gentlemen who wear suits, I don't see y'all cornering any of them. I don't see you stopping any of them to say they fit a description of anything. And that's that. But I say that to say that's part of the problem. There is this ideology of and a programming that has gone on for so long that it has been ingrained in us. And because it's become ingrained in us, we just go with it. We don't actually question it. We don't actually take a moment to think about how impactful that possibility it could be on somebody, how degrading and or upsetting it could be for someone. And like I said, I'm not saying that all officers don't take that into account. I'm just saying in rare occasions when these things happen, that's part of it. But getting back to what I was saying about this Ahmaud Arbery situation, you're talking about generational things. If these gentlemen had Confederate flags and things of that magnitude or stature on their cars or in and on their person, you have to believe that they are looking at documentation after documentation, in some cases of lynchings, of situations that happened in the Old South where they felt and or thought they were justified in how they handled those situations. And because you keep seeing that, and because you keep hearing it, and especially if it starts when you're very young, in your mind, you don't definitively necessarily or understand that there's anything wrong with that. That's where the problem lies. And that's why, again, we have to start holding people accountable for what they're feeding themselves. Some of us are doing the right thing by feeding ourselves all kind of broad information so that we have a broader spectrum and that we super understand, exactly, what is going on or some of the things that are going on in the world. But you can't keep feeding your kids and or your children poison and then when they do something poisonous,
asking them why they're not alive.
Yeah, you act as though
Amir,
you know.
there is a kid sitting at his kitchen table today who's hearing terrible, racist, nasty stuff, and is going to go out and commit a mass murder later in his life, right? There is a kid sitting at home today hearing terrible things about cops and cops are evil, cops, and is going to go out and he's going to go shoot a cop one day, right? Like we feed extremists. Like this is my world, right? Like every violent extremist, every category, subcategory, someone you have never even thought of, has been what I'm doing, and it is that we give it to them, we feed it to them. Part of it's the news. It is our politicians. It's our news. Everybody wants to, appease their group or get more clicks instead of trying to talk to each other, figure some things out, make us a little bit better with each other. Look, the thing we just talked about with cops, we weren't taught as cops that our public image mattered, that you walking away from me when I was done with you, my stop, whatever it was, that I had a responsibility to make sure you really understood why. Like I had a civic responsibility. Like we're not taught that, right? I mean, we're not, and that's a mistake, right? Look, there's a new mayor going in town. There are things that can be done, and these are the things that need to. Like we kill this defund police, and I'm with the police. Both, like there's a side up the middle. We should have the police we want, which is, we've talked about this a lot. Bill has talked about teaching them actually how to fight, right? Like that's one, but teaching them also how to respect, teaching them about different points of view on how, I was a young cop. I grew up in the city of New York, but I was put as a young cop in Harlem, and I wasn't given the tools. I had no tools to be where I was working. That's not my fault, right? Like that's the city of New York's fault. We don't give our cops the tools, the training, the continued training to make them the professionals we want. And that's what we should be fighting for. All right. We all can come together. We can have people from the left, the right, white, black, brown, and green sit down and come together and come up with some things of our goal is to have better police. If that's our goal, well, we can get there. If you're going to defund them, what you're going to have is worse police, because one of the first things they take away is training. And we lack it to begin with. So you're going to have less.
To your point, Kev, I'll just say this real quickly. To your point, Kev, that's actually the problem across the board. The funding of so many things, again, like I said, I'm 52 years old. So I grew up, in the era of the PAL, after school programs and, things of that magnitude. Even, something you mentioned earlier about the public schools. Public school, I had band and/or instruments, from grade school all the way up until high school. And now you don't have that. So the fact that our young people don't have these other outlets, which probably would lead them in directions that wouldn't cause the tension and friction that is happening in the world, is also a big part of what we're up against. So, you're absolutely right. The problem is larger than just policing and so forth and so on. It is all of these things as a combined situation. And the mere fact that, to everybody's point here, we're just not addressing these things. We're addressing the immediate situation. So we put a Band-Aid on that, and we act like some odd way that's going to, alleviate all the other issues and problems that we're up against. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bill.
No, not absolutely. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Kevin Branzetti, and our special co-host, Amir Sealy. It's so funny. Thank God for glasses, because Malika always tells me, you don't have your glasses on, you're squinting. And
I got to get my
glasses so I can see the whites of my eyes. No pun intended. You know what I'm saying? So let me just read some comments. My man Nitty, Gerald Santiago said, Bill, it's Nitty. He said he was underage first with no license and walked with an AR. I have a gun license and I have problems even with that. How his mother dropped him off to do what he do is his mother should be responsible. I think we all agree. I go from Florida to New York or have a bullet in my gun. They want to charge me a year from every bullet. That's crazy. Also, Cheryl said, agree, Amir. When my daughter was 13 years old, shout out to Cheryl White. She's always with us every week, every day, every time we come on. She says, I agree, Mayor. When my daughter was 13 years old, just getting off the bus from school, was stopped by an officer. Why? Because the officer said she looked angry. She may have been, but that's not a crime. And I was livid. By the way, the officer had on a white shirt just to show you rank. I can't tell you how upset I was. Absolutely. And if he had a white shirt on, that's not too far in the past, and he had rank. Nitty also said, Gerald said, he said, I never heard this is power right here. He said, I never heard of a white person getting pulled over because he fit the description. I ain't never heard that either. I can't even lie. I don't care.
I'm gonna twice at gunpoint.
You ain't fit no damn description. No, you ain't no redhead bandit.
Twice at gunpoint.
No, don't you knock
twice at gunpoint. Twice at gunpoint. And I will tell you,
you knock it off, yo.
When I was a young cop, in the 2-8, I used to coach a traveling hockey team, 18 and under team.
Right.
And they, not shocking, they were basically all white kids except for the one Hispanic kid on the team. But they would get pulled over and they would bitch to me about why do the cops harass us? Why do they do this? And I'd crack up laughing. It was actually good to hear. It made me happy. But you're not, if you're not in that group hearing them, you're not hearing them. Do I think a black kid has more of a chance to white kid pull over? Yeah, I do. 100%. But it does happen. It's not like, just because I walk with white skin, the sun doesn't shine all day long. The cars don't move in traffic for me. I don't get a discount when I walk in the store. I don't get put in the front of the line. Right? Like the earth doesn't work that way. No, sorry, it doesn't work that way. It does happen.
Maybe it's the red hair because it's so funny. Maybe blonde and blue eyes.
Bill, a little different thing. You can get my ex-wife on this one. I walked into a dealership with her 5 or 6 years ago. Stood there for 20 minutes to 30 minutes. Nobody would help me, and I walked out. Nobody.
Well, exactly.
I bought a car from another place.
Well, that's the difference between ordinary and extraordinary. You wasn't putting up with that bullshit, and I ain't mad at you. Because let me tell you something. If I go someplace and they ain't taking care of me, I'm out. Because somebody wants this money.
Yeah, that's happened to me in a tile store, a carpet store, car dealership. I must have a look on my face that I don't have money.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to say.
I set myself up. I volleyed that up there. You could have spiked it in my face, and thank you for not.
I don't know what to say about that.
I appreciate you didn't take the shot.
Yo, you my man, but I ain't gonna touch that one. I don't know, dog.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the red hair. I don't know.
I want to deal with a bigger elephant in the room. I want you to go. What's up, Phil? I see you in the building, New York Suave. Kev, I want you to go to that email I sent you about Chuck Richards is chiming in. He said it's the red hair. You fucking right. It's that red hair. Let me tell you that Beavis and Andy. Like Amir said the other day, he said, we used to watch Davy and Goliath, that clay ass dog. Hi, Davy.
Okay, true story. That was
my god, that was hilarious. Yo, Kev, I want you to go to the state troopers because I want to address that topic. We may not have too much time, but I think
not state troopers, Louisville police officer.
Louisville police officers. Yes.
Whichever one I sent you. I think I sent you your email on it.
So what I got reading this quickly is it was decades ago. They were members of the Klan.
Yes.
Correct. Right. So they have been removed, or they were forced to.
Both of them, I think, have decided they both resigned. I think they resigned on their own.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to know a little bit more about this. Look, you had the congressman, or was it the senator Byrd, the Democrat, for years, who was a former Klansman, and he had renounced it, and the Democrats took him and accepted him, and they voted him in numerous times and said he
F them anyway. Exactly.
Right.
So I know where you're going with this.
Can you tell somebody
F them anyway
when you're? I got to know the history. Right? If you were 15 years old and you joined something and now you're 45, Can I say you've changed? Yeah, I can say it's.
I can say you
changed.
changed.
You could have.
But
Am I nervous about that?
But hold on.
Yeah,
Listen,
skeptical.
I can say you've changed, but the bottom line is people of color don't have that privilege, because the bottom line, if that was the case, people with misdemeanors would be police officers, or they would be able to get jobs. No, they're not. No, they're not. Listen, and I'm going to tell you something. I know factual. I know white officers are, black officers are not, and I'm telling you factual, because trust me, if it wasn't for a hook, I wouldn't have been on this job. Yeah. And I'm gonna put it right there.
I know officers of color who were arrested beforehand and got on the job. Bill, depends upon. If somebody from applicants get in here and talk about it, but Bill, there are people who've gotten on. I know white people who couldn't get on the job. I had a sue to get on the job.
Listen, too. Kevin, I know.
But I got red hair, so it's different.
I know, it's different. It's different. Kevin, I'm talking factual shit that
I know you're talking factual, but I'm talking.
Listen,
you don't know every officer of color on this job in their history. You cannot tell me that black officers have never gotten on or don't get on. You can't. Now, if you want to tell me, I like my stats. If you want to pull up the stats, and if you had them, I'm with you.
We couldn't, because the bottom line is we would be delving into people's personal files and records that we not privy to. But what I am privy to, that I know at that time, is that I know when I came on this job, I was held to a standard that certain white officers, not you, not certain other people, certain white officers that came on this job that had DWIs, that had domestic shit, that had other things. And I know this for a fact because I was privy to that. Because let me tell you something, thank God I was one of those golden children that was able to call a hook. You understand what I'm saying? For those people out there that don't know what a hook is a person that pulls you up when your ass is down. So I say all that to say that I know for a fact that people of color, even Chuck, myself, they try to discourage you. They try to fail you off with the psychological and shit like that. And then there's so many people, officers, that have gotten past. Not you. I'm not saying that. And first, let me just say, I'm not going to say there's not white officers that have never failed the psychological or not have been scrutinized to a certain degree. But you know what? Not to the extent of a person of a color or a Latin officer. So there's no one that could tell me that. I wouldn't even want to hear that kind of discussion, because you couldn't even prove it to me. Because that means we would go into some federal shit and we would pull the records of NYPD, and they would not want that shit right now. We would blow the lid off of that stuff. You know what I'm saying, Kev? So I say that to say that is totally different in how I don't know about any departments around the world, but what I do know is that right now, yeah, we're talking about KKK. We're talking about people of color that have always said there has been racism and and officers, not yourself, that have held positions of power that have been racist. And now it's finally coming out. What's your take on that, Kevin or Amir? Whomever wants to go first.
I just want to add something real quick, because Kev, like he said, he already stated that he needs more information. And I'd read the whole entire article, and based off of what the article said, like you said, it was some years ago. One of them said that he was only in there for like a year or something, and then he actually quit being a part of the KKK. My only knock to some of the or pushback to some of this information, and I always say this, is, again, when you're inundated with certain information, there is sometimes a tendency to use that information in biased ways when dealing with certain people. Now, granted, hopefully neither of these officers have, because they were, a part of the situation for however long they were a part of it, hopefully none of them utilized their authority to end or the programming that might have come from being a part of that organization.
Amir, let me ask you a question. I'm asking you a question with a statement. how can you not? How can they not? The bottom line, and I'm just putting out in the universe. I'm not really trying to put you against a wall, but I'm just saying this to say, how can, listen, we all, and Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong on this. Everybody comes with biases. We all,
they do.
Everybody, and that's not a trick question. We all come, come with biases. So the bottom line is that if you're part of an organization, this is not part of Kappa or Alpha. This is not part of a fraternity. This is part of a supremacy group that
has an agenda. I agree with you, Kevin.
People of color. So, go ahead, Amir.
Here's what I'll say about that, and this is why I prefaced it and was saying what I was saying. To your exact point, like you asked me not too long ago about my feelings about the Nation of Islam and so forth and so on. I didn't definitively grow up in the Nation of Islam. I didn't. My parents were a part of it, yes. By the time I came along, they had, kind of moved in a different direction. My mother and my father never pushed any sort of religion on us. They allowed us to make that decision on our own. So I didn't practice. I practice some of the tenets of Islam, but I'm not full-fledged praying and, all the various things. Absolutely. But I'm sharing that to say this. Sometimes you find your own pathway, meaning you get involved in something and through your own personal development, through your own personal ideology, you go, this isn't for me. And I don't want to be a part of something that isn't for me. As I came up, and even though I was, like I said, obviously young when all of the things happened to the late Malcolm X, certain stuff just didn't sit right to me because to me, once somebody comes forth and they start, quote unquote, telling truths that whether or not you want to be emotional about them or not are the truth, you got to look at the truth. And I always felt that was one of the problems that I had with the Nation of Islam. This man was telling absolute truths about certain things that were supposedly happening and or carrying on at that particular time. And a lot of the nation or some of the people in the nation were like, oh, that's blasphemy. You can't call blasphemy when there is documented proof of certain situations. It's one thing to have hearsay. It's a whole other thing to, have conjecture and all that stuff. But when you got documented proof, you got to look at the documented proof and go, I got to make some serious decisions here. So that's why I was saying what I was saying about those officers. Because like I said, if I read the story correctly, one of them mentioned the fact that he was there maybe a year or something like that, which to me stems to the belief system that he probably got in there, saw a lot of things that he really didn't like or felt was, unjust or something. Was like, look, I can't be a part of this. Let me get out of this or whatever. Now, did it affect him later in life? And did he utilize it, like you said, in his, regular everyday job? Who knows? But I'm always trying to err on the side of people the better part of people coming out versus the worst part of people coming out. That's just me speaking for me. So I'll leave it at that.
So here it is. To me, they had to go, right? Like they couldn't be cops again anyway at this point, right? Once that comes out, it's 35 years earlier, right? There's one of them who said the claim is, or the claim back then was he attended one meeting and quit. Mm-hmm. 35 years ago. So we have 35 years of him as a working record. And that's what I would hold my hat on at this point. If we're going to say that you did that 35 years ago and you're dead for life, then that's how we got to treat everybody, right? There's no out of prison. There's no, giving people second chance. 35 years is a long time. 3 weeks ago, different. But if we're saying people can never, ever change, then we have to have that as our thing in our society. And we got to say, all right, fine. We keep you in forever. The people were just talking about getting exonerated or people getting released after they turn 85 years old. Nope. Keep them in. There is no forgiveness.
And Kev and Amir, I hear both of what both of you saying. I'm just going to read a comment and then I'm going to ask both of you a question. My man, Anity said, so if I'm a Crip and a 13, I could still be an officer because I was young and I didn't understand.
Actually, you could be 100%. If you were a Crip at 13 and get in, I'm sure that exists.
Okay, so let me just say this.
I'll be back at 1 minute. I gotta say goodnight to my kids.
Okay, good night, little Branzettis. Let me say. So let me ask you a question, Amir.
Yes.
we all know that the system is not fair.
Yes.
So I don't even have to go down that road. What we hear a lot of times about, oh, I had a second lease on life, doesn't happen for a lot of people of color. So right now, what we hear about these officers to go down now, okay, you didn't stay, or you thought about the KKK, you didn't stay, because maybe you didn't want to be a part of that. Doesn't mean you don't have strong feelings like that. And this in lies a problem, because a lot of times officers have a certain mentality. People fail to realize that officers, like anybody else, we move prejudicial to how we feel. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. So I say all that to say that when somebody says, "Oh, this officer did that," and I know a lot of times Kevin always says he hates bad policing, but the bottom line is bad policing a lot of times comes from personal feelings. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
And this where I'm dealing with, and Kevin knows this, I want to deal with that elephant. Like, if you listen, if you don't like white redhead people, when you pull Kevin over, he is going to get it.
Granted.
No matter what Kevin said, yes, officer, no, officer, you're right, officer, he's still going to get that ticket. He may not get hit upside the head because he didn't provoke it to that next level. But as soon as Kevin says, "Yo, why did you do that?" or "Why did you do that?" Oh, get out the car. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
And this is where a lot of officers don't understand why people of color feel that way. Because the bottom line is, when you get pulled over or you're in a situation, no matter how you try to comply without giving up your manhood, and that's the best way I can say it, without giving up your manhood, sitting on a you know what, you understand what I'm saying, or being bent over, and you say to somebody, "Yes, officer, no, officer," and he still antagonizes you. Why does he antagonize you? Because he feels a certain way. And why does he feel a certain way? Because his granddaddy, his daddy, and now he has a certain ideology. Not all, not some, but there are some. You understand what I'm saying? And then now you get people of color that get on this job and they want to get along and go along, and they're going to sing that same damn song. And that's facts. That's facts. But the bottom line is, I always talk, when Kevin and I talk, please, everybody, don't get it twisted. Don't mix a good officer for a racist officer. But can a good officer be a little racist? Absolutely. Because the bottom line is,
also a good officer could have a bad day.
Yeah, but
you know,
we're not talking about bad days, because a black
but you wouldn't know.
Well, black
you
officer,
wouldn't know
black officer could have a bad day too.
If I had a bad day, a bad moment, somebody got me, and I mouthed off to Amir on the street, Amir might think it was because I was just a racist cop. I was just an asshole that day, right? I had a bad day. It can be that. There's so many different categories.
It all depends on the situation.
Oh yeah. And who it is.
The bottom line is, if you mouth off to Amir, hypothetically, you pull Amir over for driving 11 miles over the speed limit, and you're doing traffic enforcement, right? And you're like, "Yo, listen, Amir's dressed like he is," but the bottom line is, like, "Yo," you pull him over and you say, "Excuse me, sir, blah blah blah." Kevin, and I know you're gonna go by the points, right? "Excuse me, sir, blah 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 bang." Amir's like, "Yo, why you pull me over? You pull me over because you ain't got nothing better to do, officer." Now, personally, you might be like, "Okay, see, he talking shit. I'm gonna get him a ticket," because as an officer, be like, see, now you mouthing off. Now you're gonna get it. Now Amir might. I'm just using Amir as a person, not this.
I'm writing Amir 3 tickets. Let's get this clear.
and that's what happens. See, we do have that power, but see, the bottom line is, Amir now is gonna say, "Yo, you're a racist cop." instead of saying that, damn, I should have shut the F up. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yep.
So you and I know the difference when that scenario gets painted out, because right now everything is about camera. So when you pull somebody over, you're going to have to push that button and put that camera, and they're going to hear Mira talk to you disrespectful, and you're going to say, okay, thank you for your license and registration, and I'm coming back. So now I'm going to get you for the light. I'm going to get you for the air fresheners hanging from the window or whatever the shit it is. I'm going to get you for the cover over the license plate. So now I'm going to bang you out because your mouth is disrespectful, and I'm giving you everything I got that I can do within my legal rights. You understand what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with that, because I've done that too, right? But the bottom line is, it's totally different when an officer gives it to a person of color, and a person of color is being submissive and passive and still gets compliant, dug out. Yeah. That in lies the problem.
Yeah. And I think as departments, we should do more stings. And sometimes you got to keep cops on their toes, like any job, right? Like if you don't check up on your people, I don't care if you manage targets across the country, you don't check up on your workers, they get sloppy.
Yes.
You just have to check up. But going back to this with these guys, look, I can give you a couple of things. I've had bad guys on the street. Oh, I got to actually have a really good one. I know this guy because I've met him. He went overseas to go fight with Al Qaeda, went to Afghanistan, went full-blooded, I'm in, going in. Came back here, he got arrested, turned, gave stuff, went to prison for a little bit of time, now goes out and speaks to kids who are falling for that ideology. And I'm telling you this, I've met him. I know the people who work with him are completely changed. And it does happen. Is it rare? Is it scary? Do I want reassurances? Yes, and yes. Could these cops have changed from back then? Yes. Does it scare me? Yes. But I don't, in the end, still, I think they couldn't do their job anymore once this came out. They had to go.
Well, I mean, judging from the pictures of the two, they just look like they might have timed out too. No disrespect to either one of them.
Yeah.
I was like, these guys, who are they chasing down at this stage of the game? This is not, like I said, that's no disrespect to either one of them.
There's sheriffs there that's different. They're doing like civil evictions, civil enforcements. They're not
doing major, but even
the sheriff, like New York City sheriff is. We have a sheriff. It's completely different. New York City sheriff does evictions, tax cheats. Like if you owe lots of money, they're coming for you.
Okay,
but they're not doing
the normal
criminal. Yeah, no.
Okay.
The quick read on this is like, because they were switched over to do, serving court papers and subpoenas instead of knocking on doors for evictions. So this tells me this is what they were doing in life. It's a different.
But the other side of that. The other side of that, and again, this is just me speaking for me because I'm in that age bracket. I'm 52 now, and sometimes when you get over 50, there's the old angry guy. It just is what it is. It's not, and that's not a color thing. That's a reality of, just getting up there in age and having some experience in certain, areas and situations. So they could. I'm going to
disagree with you. 50 is not that age.
No, I'm not saying
I'm
for everybody
on that one.
I'm not saying for everybody.
If you're an angry man, Amir, that you just have to take it and own it. Don't blame it on age.
And I will. But I'm just saying, most people I know who get to that space, you're kind of in the, I don't really care anymore what people think, what people are saying. That's just you first of all, you're happy that you got to 50. Look, especially in our community, maybe not in yours, Kevin, but in our community, you hit 50, you're kind of like, hey, this is a milestone, Jack. I don't know. I can't speak for other people, but with that having been said,
I don't know what's going on with you.
But like I said,
28 years in law enforcement, I'm still 35.
And just like I said, looking at the picture of those two gentlemen, I just was like, these guys look like dudes who now can, afford to, like you said, possibly do something else and, be in a different capacity and still be,
they need to have their ass on a porch. That's what they do. I'll say it. Yeah, Kevin is politically correct. I'm gonna say it. Shit, my man Norm said. He said, Bill, before the police force was integrated, graded officers were used to having total and complete power over everything they did, and the mentality has not changed. There is a black and white line in the locker room. Absolutely. 50 is not old. No, Eunice Collins, it's not old at all. I mean, I got my AARP card and I'm rocking it well. I go someplace, I be there, bam! I hit it on the desk like that.
Yes, you do.
Like, you don't look your age. I say, here, take this card, give me that discount. How about that?
Exactly.
So I mean, we have to understand. I know Kevin understands it, and Mia understands it, and that's full transparency. That there is a race issue in this country, and I will always go back to 45. The one thing that he did, thank you for making it so prevalent that it is evident that people are racist. Not that we didn't know it, but it was so hidden and suppressed. I was looking at something and they was just talking about how many white supremacy groups are over where they are. And in stats, this is your thing. You can look it up. Mexico is the only place that doesn't have any supremacy groups. And other places I was hate to
challenge.
Huh?
Go ahead, but got a challenge.
Yeah, you can challenge it. But the bottom line is the fact that they're even white supremacy groups is it lies the problem. You know what I'm saying? But the bottom line is they know where to be, who they are, and like they even talked about the Nation of Islam as black nationalists, and stuff like that. It's so funny, words and verbiage. Bottom line is the Nation of Islam has never said I hate white people, right? We know with the KKK and the white nationalists and the skinheads and this group and that group, they're all talking about they just want a separate world against people of color. They hate Jews, Gentiles, and all kind of other nonsense. It is what it is. I mean, who am I to sit here and try to change some bastards? I really don't care. Bottom line is, I just want a better world. I want law enforcement to police people, period. I could say people of color, absolutely. People of period, absolutely. The bottom line is, how do we make that right? How do we do this? I think we as people have always known, going back to the Mississippi burning days, to whomever you want to say, that the KKK were city officials, and that in lies the problem. And this is why the mentality has changed to where we, people of color, don't feel safe calling the police. I had this conversation earlier today, and the person always said, Amir, you can co-sign this, or you don't have to. It's up to you. That we were talking about how in the black community, you don't call the police when you're having situations in your house. Because when you call the police, it's not your house anymore. It's theirs. How many officers come to your house and they want to de-escalate the situation? Unless they're not looking for a collar, Kevin. You know what I'm saying? But otherwise than that, it's like, oh, shut up. Be quiet. Wait a minute. You come in my house, I pay the rent. Now you're telling me to shut up and being quiet. Go ahead, Amir. I know you.
I think to the point that Kevin made earlier, and even to the point that you're making, as time has gone on, we have seen a direct, change in ideologies and how certain people interact. I will say this, because as much as I've had odd like I said, interactions with the police, I did have some good interactions with the police. I'll never forget, there was one time myself and my older brother, and I'm wearing one of the neckties now. You may or may not be able to see this, but we used to have a necktie business, and we were trying to get to the airport, and we had to catch a flight out of LaGuardia Airport. We had offices on 7th Avenue and like 40 something, no, like 38th Street, and we couldn't catch a cab. And true story, 2 officers said that they would, take us to the airport. We got in the back of the thing with our luggage. It's a true story. They turned on the sirens and ran us through traffic and, got us to the airport on time so that we can make our flight. So that's what I'm saying. I don't think that every interaction, with police is always a bad one.
Now, let me ask you a question. Was that because your brother was Malik Sealy, or that was because you had a bow tie on?
To be honest with you, I really don't know because me and my brother.
Ain't nobody pull your ass over and tell me I'm gonna give you a ride to the airport.
Like I kid you not, I really don't remember what the circumstance was because I was much younger. But like I said, we were literally headed to Las Vegas because we were doing the big menswear fashion show that they do out there every year.
Magic. You're talking about the Magic show.
Magic show, exactly, Bill. And like I said, we couldn't catch a cab. True story. We were out there, hands raised, nobody stopping, and finally 2 officers stopped. And like I said, they gave us a lift and got us to the airport, on time. So I just think that as time has gone on, and based off of the fact that the world, to Kevin's point and to the research that he does, has so many extreme situations in terms of people and groups and ideologies, it's also made our officers obviously a little more jaded to what they have to face in the public because the world is more jaded. So if we can, find some sort of balance, and that has to start with, again, to a point that Kevin made earlier, getting back to there being some real dialogue between police officers and the public at large, and not always one of a negative connotation. Sometimes it needs to just be, how are you? And, so forth and so on, so that you don't always think that there's a need to freeze up and or to feel, like there's something bad going to happen if, officer engages you in any real way. And the same for, the public at large. We have to, extend the olive branch as well from our standpoint to, open up that dialogue. I'm along with Kevin. I don't think that the police needs to be defunded and all that stuff. Absolutely. I just think that training and a real conversation should be and needs to be had on both sides so that we can understand each other's shortcomings, each other's ideologies, each other's, things that have to be dealt with. And once you have that understanding, then, we can treat each other and respond to each other, hopefully better and differently. So, we'll have to wait and see.
Awesome. I think everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles, and I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Kevin Branzetti, and my special guest host, Amir Sealy. And we tried to touch on a bunch of topics. The Rittenhouse trial, please watch it so you can converse with us later. The Ahmaud Arbery trial. Anything that you want to talk about, please reach out to us. We'll talk about it. We don't care. These gentlemen here, we will talk about it, whether we like it or disagree with it. We ask you all the time, if you want to be a part of the panel, just reach out to any one of us, and we will send you a link, and you can come on and say what you got to say, because that's what we do. I want to hear what you got to say. Make some damn sense, though. How about that? Next week, it's about the holidays coming up. I'll have to talk to Kevin and Chuck to see. It's the day before Thanksgiving. Maybe we might take it off. I don't know if Kevin, you playing turkeys or what are you doing?
I don't know. I don't have my kids next week, so
we might be able to slide one show in. Amir, give us some positive affirmation before you get out of here. Kevin, give us some positive affirmation. Everybody, I just want to say, listen, go back and listen to the shows, share them with your people. If you're on Facebook, share it. If you're on YouTube, share it, subscribe to it. Listen to Dr. Marilyn Corder. We had an excellent show. Malika had an excellent show with her Monday. We had a great show with Amir and Allison the other day. We have Pastor Kevin Graves coming up this Monday. Listen, we just try to give you real talk information. That's all we can do. I appreciate you all. I thank you all for time and listening to us. I'm going to turn it over to Amir and Kevin. I'll let Kevin close it out. Amir, positive affirmation, anything you want to tell the world, the community, and then I'll give it to Kevin. Go ahead.
First off, again, Bill, as always, thank you for, allowing me to come on and be a part of the show. Kevin, is always nice to break bread with you as well and to have dialogue, open dialogue. And this is exactly what I mean. We have to get back to this, guys. We have to get back to dialogue. We have to get back to taking our emotions out of said situations and listening and then comprehending one another. Don't just respond to the bullet points or to the things that trigger you and make you crazy. Like, no, don't do that. Let the person fully convey whatever it is they need to convey. Take notes if you need to, and then go back and hopefully you can respond to whatever has been divulged to you. But big and better than that is, as Bill said, it's the holiday season coming up. Please do everything you can. Excuse me. Get to see your folks, hug your people, love each other, try to see the best in one another, and more so than anything, this is a saying and a family mantra of myself and my family. It's nice to be important, but it's much more important to be nice. Take that with you, utilize it in your everyday life, and I promise you, it'll open doors and you'll find things, happening in your world and in your life that you can't even begin to imagine. I utilize it every day, and I live by it, and I hope that some of you will embrace it and implement it into your lives. But again, I just want to thank you guys for allowing me to be on here.
Appreciate you. Kev.
Thank you, Amir. It's always a pleasure. One of these days, Bill, we're gonna have to do one of these shows where we're actually sitting together. So when it ends, we can have some drinks and really go at it. Like,
listen, I would love that.
But once the alcohol's flowing, the camera comes
that shit would be awesome. Could you imagine that shit?
Just pick a day, Bill. I will be there. So I'm publicly calling you out.
We're gonna make it happen. I promise you.
We do it as a real round table somewhere. I don't know where.
We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna make it happen.
The back of a restaurant.
Yeah. We're gonna make it happen.
All right. Yeah. My first thing's always take a break. Everybody take that day off. The trials, you watch them, it could drive you crazy. You can't change them. You can't. There's nothing you could do about it. So take at least one day every week. Get with yourself. Everybody knows me. I like to go hiking. That's my adventure, my way of keeping my sanity.
Watch your daughters, everybody. He get them up in the woods.
That's just wrong. That's just so wrong.
They gonna get them against a rock and press them. That's the old shit. That's the old school shit. Yo, Kevin, let me tell you something. Back in the days in the 60s, they would say, yo, you get somebody and you press them against a tree so they can feel your personal, your juice as they get excited. That's what we call pressing. So that's why when I say you press them against some rocks, you let them feel that. I don't know what the white community calls it, but you get them up in them rocks. I know how you get them.
We call it sexual assault.
You scared. You're like, hold my hand, you scared and shit. Don't fall.
This is the nice part of the show. Really, those are for earlier. All right. This is usually when Malika, you see the hand come around and grabs Bill's face.
By the mouth.
Like, shit.
She's downstairs, thank God, Jesus Christ. Because she would have. That was a definitely grab your mouth situation right there.
Take the break, do something, active with your kids, with your family. Have that dinner time, devices off, change happens small, things at a time. Right. So, you got to have that change. If you're not changing here, your family, and teaching them the right way, how do you expect to do anything with the bigger picture?
Absolutely.
Right? It is all possible. You can change things.
Kev, what's up with the Islanders?
14-game road trip is not that easy.
I know it's not.
We'll see what happens when they come home.
Yeah, when they get a new home, about time. Yeah, right. Everybody's Real Talk Chronicles.
It's better than watching my Jets.
Oh, the Jets are terrible. Listen,
and I just publicly admitted I'm a Jet fan. That really says something about my guy.
I know. Trust me. I'm Giants, Jets, Knicks, Nets.
Yes, exactly.
Rangers, Islanders. Yeah, go ahead.
The problem for both the Giants and the Jets, though, is not that either of those teams are bad. They're not doing the small things. The Jets aren't tackling. The Giants don't tackle. It's all this kind of hit a guy up high and hope that he falls down. I'm like, I came up playing football. Football 101 is wrap the legs up and put them on the ground. Shoestring tackle or whatever. But your whole ideology is to wrap the legs up and put them on the ground. I'm watching game after game. I've been looking at these guys going, When has that worked for you yet? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
nobody wants to
If
talk
you
about
outweigh the
that.
guy by 50 pounds, you can hit him hard high.
You could, but for the most part, Kevin, at this stage of the game, everybody's in the gym. You understand what I'm saying? The
Well, they're not
linemen
in the
in the
game.
gym, the running backs in the gym, everybody's in the gym. So
Yeah.
trying to
Yep.
use that tactic doesn't necessarily. That's what I'm saying. You got to wrap them up and put them on the ground, and/or hold them until your partners come, and then you can collectively put them on the ground. All the teams that are winning, if you notice, they're tackling. You're like, oh my God, that was a group tackle. Remember that concept?
You know what we're gonna do? I might do in the new future, maybe even next week. Right, I might just change up the conversation and just talk sports on a Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? We could talk hockey, we could talk basketball, we could talk baseball,
talk basketball, everything. Yeah,
everything. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Foster. I got my co-host Kevin Branzetti. I got my assistant co-host Amir Sealy, and we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for watching. Share, like, subscribe, but do anything. Be nice. Don't be disrespectful to people, because that's not good. And karma comes back, bite you in your ass. And don't talk about ouch when it gets there. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, talk to you.
Sure.
See you next week. Peace.
Peace.